As summer winds down, you might have missed out on doing some well-deserved travel. It's not too late. Or just itching to get away again. And it might be a good time to start looking while we're amidst fall shoulder season. To break down exactly what that is, we've got Hayley Berg, who is the Hopper Lead Economist, here with us. Hayley, let's start there. What is fall shoulder season? Where do we even get the name from?
The shoulder season is the period of time between peak summer vacation travel months, think June, July, August, and the holiday season, starting halfway through November and going all the way through to the end of the year. This shoulder period, it's mostly September, October, maybe the first or second week of November, is where prices for airfare, hotel stays, even some activities will drop because there is not as much demand as we see in those peak periods, the holidays and the summer. And it means it's a great time for travelers to get much more bang for their buck if they are thinking about fitting one more trip in.
Okay, interesting. All right, so I'm almost envisioning like a head and shoulders stock chart here, and maybe that's what this shoulder season is really more analogous to, and not what I was telling producers in that you're wearing a hoodie, so clearly you're covering up your shoulders versus, these summer vacations that we would have taken otherwise. So all that considered here, where can people still find, even right now, good deals out in the market?
You can find great deals to most destinations. What a lot of Americans don't know is that airfare on average is actually very low right now, lower than it was last year, and in many cases lower than 2019. When everything else gets more expensive, it can make it feel like travel is more expensive too, but it's actually a great time to get more for your dollar when you're planning a trip. Take trips to Europe, for example. That's the number one destination for Americans who are thinking of going internationally. A trip to Paris this summer likely would have cost you around $900 round trip. If you take that trip in September, October, it'll cost you about $600 round trips, about $300 savings. And we're seeing those same price savings, those drops to destinations like Rome, Athens, Tokyo, Shanghai, really, really significant savings to a lot of these more expensive destinations.
To what extent is the pullback in discretionary spending for consumers also playing into what we're seeing on the vacation economy or the experience economy right now?
It's interesting. Coming out of the pandemic, we talked a lot about revenge travel and what felt like a really unbreakable wave of demand for travel. And what we've seen in this last year is even as there's been pullback in other parts of the industry, travel expenditure has remained relatively stable. In a survey of our own Hopper users, who are primarily Gen Z and millennials, more than 80% expect to spend the same or even more on travel in the second half of this year. So they must be cutting back elsewhere and really prioritizing that travel and experience spend over maybe some of those more consumer goods or services.
It's really interesting when we've heard from some of the travel and booking companies over the course of this earnings season. One of them, for instance, Airbnb on their earnings call was talking about the lead times to which people are booking travel shortening, which means they're booking it closer to the actual date that they're planning to go on that trip. What does that signal to you about the psychology of this vacationing consumer right now?
Shorter advance bookings are something that we've watched very closely at Hopper and in the industry really since 2020. Initially, it was a signal for concern that travelers had around, will I be able to take this trip? Will there be COVID-related closures, et cetera? And now it does seem to have transitioned from a more wariness of travel to wariness of paying for travel. Most travelers are booking flights about 4 weeks closer to their departure date than they were pre-pandemic.
Wow.
Very similar for hotel stays. And it does seem like some of that shift is travelers putting off the purchase, but in some cases, prices are so low on certain accommodations and many flights, travelers just have a little bit more flexibility to book later.
Okay, and so with that in mind, what do you think that sets up for the holiday travel season? I mean, we were just talking about the shoulders travel season. That's going to kind of take us into some of those holiday booking trends that we typically track.
The good news is our forecast for the holidays at Hopper right now has prices at or below 2023 and 2019 levels, which will mean for Americans being able to get away home for the holidays over Thanksgiving and any of the December holidays at a little bit less than what they have paid historically. The important part there is you do need to plan ahead for the holidays. We're expecting it to be a busy travel season. As you know, there have been many large weather events already this year. We're expecting that it will be a bit of a chaotic travel season at the end of the year as well when we throw in snow and ice into the mix.
Right.
So we need travelers to start planning ahead, book when prices are at their lowest for the holidays, which will be in late September and early October, and plan ahead for those disruptions because we expect to see them.
Hayley, always a pleasure to grab some time with you. Thanks so much for hopping on Yahoo Finance with us. Hayley Berg, Hopper, Lead Economist. Great to see you.
Thanks, Brent.